Good evening and welcome to tonight's event. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Latino Outreach Council, I welcome you to this forum. This forum is going to encompass the candidates for the 3rd District and 4th District of the San Luis Obispo Board of Supervisors. I'm supposed to give you a few little hints, so I'm going to do that right now. The restrooms are that way. Your cell phones, please, are off. That's good. There is no smoking in Pismo Beach and certainly no smoking in here. You will be quiet and respectful during the questions and during the answers. We would appreciate that very much. You will have your questions ready for the people who are going to pick them up from you, the runners, and they'll bring them up here and they will be read out loud. I want to tell you a little bit about the Latino Outreach Council, which is part of this beautiful San Luis Obispo County, and they are dedicated to facilitating the equal and full participation of all members of the Latino community in the life and affairs of San Luis Obispo County. They have a passion. It is to arrange the local Latino community with opportunities to connect with individuals and businesses alike in order to build a stronger network in San Luis Obispo County. They aim to celebrate the Hispanic culture and provide information about the county and what is available to them. Today, the organization in San Luis Obispo County provides advocacy and outreach to the community's Latino population. They do have openings for membership, and they always have openings for volunteers. And I believe the gentleman is next.
Good evening. My name is Ed Cabrera. On behalf of all the volunteers representing the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County, we welcome you to tonight's forum. The League celebrated its 100th year anniversary a couple of years ago and is considered the gold standard nationally for its long history of nonpartisan stance when it comes to the candidates. In tonight's portion of the program, we welcome Supervisor Don Ortiz-Lake, Mr. Arnold Ruiz, and Ms. Stacy Korsgaden. Thank you for offering your service to our community, and thank you for making yourself available to our community tonight. We are aware that we are pressed for time tonight. Therefore, we will be strict about the time limits on the candidates' responses. Helping us with this important task is our volunteer timekeeper, Cynthia Pretzel. She will be seated so that the candidates may easily see her. She will raise her paddle to tell them that they have 1 minute left on their time, then 30 seconds, and finally, when they must stop because their time has expired. We ask that the audience realize that any reaction, even positive, to a candidate's remarks may be disruptive and may distract them from using their time effectively. So please refrain from any interruption. In this vein, I remind you once again that you all take this moment to join me in silencing our smartphones. We will be covering a number of topics tonight. Questions from the audience are submitted in writing. Question cards are available from the League of Women Voters, our greeters, and our runners. Cards may be submitted before the forum begins and at any time during the forum. Our volunteer runners, Linda Beck, Pat Garrett, Erica Costello, and Shelley Higginbotham, and also Alex Carlin. We'll circulate amongst the audience to make available a list of the topics and single cards that audience members can use to write their questions. Please, only one question per card. The questions will then go to our sorters, Sue Bonnet, Sharon Whitney, and Valerie Steenson. They will choose the questions that best address the topics without repetition and within the realm of the candidate's jurisdiction. We will begin tonight's forum, as agreed upon beforehand, with opening statements at 3 minutes per candidate. speak in order of the lots that we just drew a few minutes ago. We will rotate the order of candidates so that this will ensure that each candidate has an opportunity to speak in different order. There will be only time for a limited number of questions for each candidate. Audience members should be aware that not all questions can be asked in the limited time available. Answers will be limited to 1 1/2 minutes. At the end of the question, each candidate may make a closing statement of 2 minutes. Closing statements will be made in reverse order of the opening statements. So, our first question, please. Immigration. The topic is immigration. Oh, excuse me. Our opening statements, and as agreed upon beforehand, Mr. Ruiz.
Thank you. And for my opening statement, it's going to be a shocker because your questions are going to be presented to the Board of Supervisors. And I have to tell you that the Board of Supervisors do not have authority to do hardly anything in this county because the authority was transferred to the state of California on June 6, 1978. And the board cannot do anything about getting it back. What we need to do is get the measure on the ballot that says we want our government back to the county of San Luis Obispo. But that's the people's job. The Board of Supervisors cannot do anything about it. Why? Because the state says so. And this is a war that's going on between the state government and the county government. And I stand on that because that is the very, and I hope that we can answer the questions according to what we would like to see happen here in San Luis Obispo. Thank you.
Ms. Korsgaden.
My name is Stacy Korsgaden, a small business owner in the Central Coast and located in Grover Beach. And many of you might know people that you've known for years that have decided to leave the county of San Luis Obispo. And there's a moth I would like to have leave. There are people that you've known from your churches, from your businesses, friends that you might have known for a long time. But they're making decisions that are necessary for their future, and they're choosing to leave the state, and they're choosing to leave our county. I'm running to be supervisor to change our course, do a correction in the course that we're taking. I started my business 33 years ago after graduating from Cal Poly in business management, and it was relatively easy to start my business. As a young graduate, I rented a spot in the South County, and I purchased some office equipment, which basically consisted of a phone. At that time, I started building relationships, and many of those relationships are still with me today, and I'm very, very grateful. The California dream was here for me to capture, but in the last 5 years, conversations have started to change. Long-term clients are deciding to move out of state, and I've started conducting exit interviews to ask them why. And their stories are unique, but there's a similar thread with all of them. It's too expensive to live here, the taxes are too high, homelessness keeps increasing, energy costs are cheaper in state X, Y, and Z, and the housing is too expensive, and there's rising crime. There comes a time when our beautiful weather just simply is not enough. 65% of our state residents feel that the California dream is dead and gone. It does not have to be this way. San Luis Obispo can say that the best days are ahead of us, and I would like to be a part of that. As your supervisor, I will bring innovative solutions to our persistent problems. When it comes to homelessness, I will promote public safety. I will defend Prop 13. I will work to repeal Prop 47 and 57. I will encourage a large portfolio of resources that will help keep our energy costs down and our public choice a priority. I am running to encourage economic growth. Our county needs revenue to thrive, and some of the main sources of those revenues are our nuclear power plant and our which is clean energy, and our Oceano dunes. That money that is generated into our economy is used for what? Police, fire, our roads, our infrastructure. It's the foundation of our economy. I will also support parental rights and their rights to be heard. When you vote for me on June 7th, I will be your voice for personal freedom, fiscal discipline, and government accountability.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to say thank you first to the League of Women Voters for offering us this forum, and to the Latino Outreach Council for being here and supporting. My name is Dawn Ortiz-Legg. I am the 3rd District Supervisor, and I was appointed in November of 2020, and I sworn in December of 2020. Those 15 months since, I think I've had an opportunity to really take a look at the county and what's going on. I think originally when I was appointed, it was a competitive appointment process. I want to point that out, and this is actually a confirmation election that we're having here. I think that the reason why I was appointed are 3 reasons. One is that I have extensive land use experience. I did this through a number of years in developing clean energy projects. This has provided me with an excellent base of understanding of how the government works, how we can get things done. 2, I'm a Latina. I'm actually half Latina and half European, and I think that the diversity that I bring to the board was important. I know that I am the first Latina to be sitting on the dais at the board. I hope to be the first one fully elected to the board. And 3, I had the support of a wide range of individuals. It wasn't just my friends, so to speak, but these are longtime business associates, agency leaders, leaders in the labor and trade unions. I can say that I was humbled by their support, but it was because they had worked with me for a number of years, and they knew I had the ability to get things done. And I think that they also knew that I have a moderate, balanced approach, that I listen to all sides, and that I would be the right person at this time to come onto this board. As everybody knows, there was a lot of dissension on the board, and I feel that by the approach that I've taken, I've been able to accomplish much, I've been able to learn much, and I'm here tonight to share with you all of the things that I've been working on for the last 15 months. So thank you. Look forward to this.
Thank you. As you may know, there were a number of topics identified beforehand, and the first topic to be discussed tonight is immigration. So, Ms. Korsgaden, you are the first to answer the following question. What are your views on the treatment of undocumented immigrants by San Luis Obispo County officials cooperating with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement?
So typically, the Board of Supervisors does not interact or deal with that issue as a whole. What I do understand is that San Luis Obispo has a very large agricultural community. And when we look at how we are handling we have an aging population, and the workforce that we get from either Mexico or from other Latino countries, we have something that's called a temporary agriculture employment and foreign workers. It's H-2A. And what I was concerned about when talking to a local person that helped manage our local farm workers, the big issue was housing. And that's a big topic that we will deal as a supervisor board going forward. But it's an interesting challenge when it comes to our workforce. So that is a federal program, and obviously I'm in favor of it. The responsibility of the agriculture worker program is that we have to house, and they have to also transport the workers. So I would be interested in finding solutions, and I have solutions for the housing for these workers, and it's important for our economy. Agriculture is a huge benefit for our county.
Thank you. Supervisor Ortiz-Leg.
Yes. So the cooperation between the county and all that really happens at the sheriff's office. And it's really up to the sheriff and not the Board of Supervisors to make these determinations. I just want to note that one thing here, though, that our local law enforcement, they are inundated right now with a number of challenges that they have. And so they're doing an amazing job during COVID and post-COVID. I mean, they have a wide range of territory that they're covering. They have a lot more mental health and homeless issues that they're dealing with. And so there's a number of things that they already have their hands full. I think when it comes to the undocumented workers, I know that for the most part, it's only if we have a criminal instance. And I did a peruse of over the last 3 years on what happens. We have a reporting system where we can go and see immigration issues. And really, the immigration issues are when criminal behavior does come up, and then there is action taken, which is rightly so. So that's what's going on in regards to this question, which is kind of an interesting question for us. Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, the Latino thing is, plants seem to belong to Mexico. That we have so many, there's so many things about plants that it'd be nice if we all could learn about it, but it's the Latino people who really get down to the ground and do the work to fill our tables with food. We know that. However, it's about jobs. And I like the idea of when you're working in your garden, maybe you have your earphone on to philosophy or music or like that. In other words, it's a great industry it's a great work with, and that's basically what the Latino community is about.
Staying with the topic of immigration, a second question.
Do we have a rebuttal time?
No.
Okay.
Second question on the topic. Are there adequate health services for undocumented immigrants in our county? Supervisor Ortiz-Leg.
Yes. Well, in this past year, we've actually have a health equity officer now, which was really important. And this has been able to increase the communication, the services that are offered. We do offer complete services to undocumented workers. There is a Hippocratic oath that all health providers have, that no matter your creed, race, status of any sort, that you provide health care. So we do have a number of services that are available. I'm very pleased to announce that not only are we doing things with just regular health care, but on the mental health scene, there's been terrific amount of impacts to young people during COVID in regards to mental health. And we actually have on Fridays a mental health hour on Latino radio here in the county. And I think that this is just an example of the many departments and the many people in our county staff that are reaching out and doing beyond and above work to understand more about our Latino culture, particularly our Mixteco culture, which does not speak Spanish. They speak their own indigenous language. So we're learning more, and we're supporting them as much as we possibly can, because they are really the workers out in the fields. Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, I like our sheriff a lot. I think that he should go for Congress. We need somebody that protect us in that vein with the sheriff's department. And by the way, that's the last thing that we have to defend ourselves is the sheriff's department. other than that, what I haven't just not studied further on that. Thank you.
Ms. Korsgaden.
I really think that the elephant in the room is that we do have so many of our local citizens leaving our area. Why are they leaving our area? Because of really mismanagement of funds and responsibilities. We do have we have a way, if someone should come into our community and work in agriculture, they are required to be offered the benefits, which includes health insurance. And oftentimes, my understanding is they like any employer or any employee here that works for a business, they have the choice of choosing the benefits. Oftentimes, they don't choose those benefits, but what's different about the program is the work comp program will cover the employee for 24 hours a day. I'm told that if they are not at work and they fall and injure themselves at their home, they're covered under this program's work comp policy. So health insurance for the worker that's here legally, there's coverage and it's offered. Just real quick, the sheriff is busy with, as my opponent said, and the reason that our sheriff is busy not only for the crimes that are being committed, but because of Prop 47 and Prop 57. Those props, my opponent decided not to repeal those laws and send up through our legislative platform. I will be in support of our local law enforcement.
Thank you. We are moving on to another topic, homelessness and housing. Mr. Ruiz, you'll be the first to respond, and the limit will remain at 1.5 minutes. Here is the question. Do you support safe parking of areas or encampments for unhoused people?
No. No, I don't. I think it's not the county's job. I think we should be very considerate about shelter and food and anything that the homeless needs, that we should do that. But to put them into a home so that they can take care of it and pay taxes, or no, that's a state boondoggle that we don't need here in the county. We've got our own people to take care of right here, and that's part of our, the inflation is what's really causing people that were born and raised here can't stay here because, you've got to pay rent, and that's inflated way too high. Thank you.
Ms. Korsgaden.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. Do you support safe parking areas or encampments for unhoused people?
I do. I had a chance to look at the safe parking. I interviewed some of the residents there, and I feel it's a fantastic start. I am a big picture person. I think that's just the beginning. What I would propose is calling this really what it is, and it's an emergency. I believe that San Luis Obispo can lead the way. There's 58 counties, and San Luis Obispo can lead the way in coming up with a model where we would develop emergency shelters throughout our county, and that is where our emergency services would be housed, whether it be mental services, drug abuse services, maybe have a sheriff's outstation, something that would be in these shelters. And then to put some order into our laws, I would recommend that San Luis Obispo have an ordinance that said, we now have shelters. No longer can our citizens sleep in the parks and in undesignated areas. The shelters that would be a temporary bridge, the goal would be tiny houses, safe parking, someplace where someone can call home or to have rehab, but this would be a place where we can then start to gain control of our communities, our parks, and our county.
Supervisor Ortiz-Leg.
So I am the one board member that sits on the Homeless Oversight Committee, and I'm very happy to announce that this week we actually have gotten somewhere in the sense that on Tuesday we had a 5-0 vote to do exactly that. We've created a countywide strategy to address homelessness, and this is going to be in the form of a homeless operations center, which will be possibly at the former dog kennel, the pet kennel out at Kansas, right where the sanctioned parking is currently. And I do support sanctioned parking when it's done properly. These decisions and to be able to put encampments or parking is a major undertaking, though. I want to make people aware that it's just not so easy to just say, everybody go to a tent and do things over here. It costs money to oversee. It also requires safety, security. It requires a number of internal monitoring systems. We've had 2 overdose deaths. We've had a fire. This all is part of the reality of trying to manage. This requires resources, and you've got to be able to make sure that you have those resources in place. So we'll talk more about homelessness, but to answer that question, it's a yes.
Ms. Korsgaden, the next question is on housing. You're first. The Board of Supervisors recently repealed the inclusionary housing fee. What do you see as a solution going forward to subsidize housing for those in our community that are homeless or very low income?
Well, first, I did agree with that vote. I would have voted the same way. What we're looking at is, in our county, there's confusion with our housing policy. Do we want more housing? Because if we do, our ordinances and our regulations are saying that we don't. Because if someone were to have a piece of land and they wanted to develop that land, there's so much regulation and there's so much cost that it's almost impossible for someone that might own a piece of land to develop it. So I see that I would like to a market solution that would encourage growth in such a way, like these tiny houses are so interesting to me. I would look at what would the market provide. We could do maybe an RV parking situation where someone could have an entry point that's very affordable. So someone that comes from our emergency shelter, we're then able to give them maybe an RV. They are able to secure enough money then to go to a tiny home. A tiny home then can maybe go into a condo. So I'm not a big fan of, deed restrictions or government intervention. I would just say that so often in our land use policies and our policies as a county and in our cities, it's almost, there's deterrent for housing.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
So I also feel that why are we taxing the things we want more of? And we want more housing, actually. We really need more housing. This is a crisis that we have here for our local businesses, hospitality industry, medical industry, education industry. They are all having candidates come, love the job, love the area. Oops, no, I can't stay here. It's just too expensive. So just this week, I've been able to start my roundtable with the Home Builders Association, with the nonprofits, and some Cal Poly folks that we're working on. And we're working on a number of revenue streams to look at how can we fund at least $2 to $3 million annually to do this base of an account to continually have reoccurring revenue in there to offset the cost of housing. 3, there's a couple of things here. 1, the multiple revenue streams. 2, address the internal departments and processing within the county and coordinating that. And 3, really encourage the mixed-use commercial and increase the densities. There's a number of cities that are moving forward with things. We can replicate this across the board in the county. So this is rolling up your sleeves kind of task work and working with people. That's my specialty. Thank you.
The next topic. Oh, I am so sorry. So sorry. Mr. Ruiz.
I'm going to take a Reagan stance on this. And we just don't need more government. We need self-government, and that's why hopefully we here in the audience are going to be more in tune with what's going on in our county. And thank you for being here. But if inflation is what makes it difficult for people to find a home to live in. We have people that come, they fly in here, take a job for a week as police officers and fire department people, and then they fly out. Big deal. It's a good deal, good thing for the transportation, but we should be more considerate of the people who already live here, that they don't have to pay such high rent to live here. And we need people that are going to raise their families here, and that's what makes a town, a country, a good country. Thank you.
The next topic is governance. Supervisor Ortiz-Legg, you are the first to answer this question. Do you support the county charter proposal, which calls for a special election in the case of a vacancy in a county-wide elected office at the cost of $1 million?
I do not. I think it's an expensive hornet's nest. It will, what's interesting about Charter County is that it could only take 10% of the population vote to amend it, kill any of it. It's another waste of time and money, which we continue to do at the board instead of tackling the things that we just discussed, such as housing, such as the homeless issues, such as infrastructure. There's so many pieces, water security, and we're wasting our time on something. I'm a perfect example of somebody that was appointed at the beginning of a term, and now I'm already up for re-election. We could just save the $1 million and just let the process take place. So I'm not supportive of it.
Mr. Ruiz. Following up on that, what we need to solve our problems here so that we can do something in the county, we need to get that government back from the state that took it away from us on June 6, 1978, and run our own cities and counties. There's 58 counties that the state is ruling over, and they can't do it very well. And if they're going to do it any better, they got to raise the taxes and hire more people to do it. And we have plenty of people right here, local people that are very competent to do the job. And we should be taking care of our own county. And that's what the Board of Supervisors is supposed to be all about. But we can't get there unless the state loosens a chokehold that they have on this county. It's all about authority, and we don't have it. We need it, but that's the people's job. The supervisors can't do anything about it.
Ms. Carsgarden.
Can you repeat the question?
Do you support the county charter proposal, which calls for a special election in the case of a vacancy in a county-wide elected office at the cost of $1 million?
So generally speaking, I'm going to say yes. And the reason is we belong in a representative government, and we should always default to the vote. So generally speaking, I would say yes. There's more to learn about the charter, but I'm going to say yes.
The next question, also on governance, Mr. Ruiz, you're up first. Do you support the establishment of an independent citizens redistricting commission?
Again, would you repeat
Do
that?
you support the establishment of an independent citizens redistricting commission?
No. We, back to the idea of charter. Charter is a way of making our own laws, and this is what we need to do. We need to make our own laws so that we can keep them right here in Grover Beach or San Luis Obispo, and like that. In other words, it's like to say a charter is like a declaration of it. No, it's a constitution, a charter. It's a promise. We'll take care of each other. We love each other. That's why we're here. If we don't love each other, we got to learn to love each other. And that's what it's all about.
Ms. Korsgaden.
So the question at hand is, if we have 10 years down the road, when we redistrict, would we want to assign a committee to actually deal with the redistricting? And that's a strong no for me. And the reason is, if we have a board of supervisors, where however they make the decision, they're accountable to the voters. So this just happened. If we as a community don't like how the vote went down, the next election, we're going to be able to take that person and we're going to be able to vote on whether we want to keep that person or not. So if we have an unelected body that's making decisions, they are not accountable to the voters. I will always defer to the elected officials making those kinds of decisions.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
I believe the question was, do you support a commission, not a committee?
Yes.
And I do support a commission and not a committee. The commission is different than a committee. The committee would be assigned by the board. A commission would be assigned in a different manner. We have now in the United States and across the country, we've been able to see where commissions can work. I think that we really need one here at the County of San Luis Obispo to save ourselves from ourselves, because what just happened in redistricting is somewhat of a nightmare. And so I think a commission, which was just done in Michigan, a number of places, that we've got really good results on how to go about doing it so it's fair, so we can have equal voices, so we can have, everybody can get their input, whether you're this, that, libertarian, et cetera. And that's the kind of way that we should be preparing and dividing up our districts and our county.
Our next topic is economic development. Ms. Korsgaden, you're up first. What is your philosophy on large developments, including vineyards, and how would you balance the impacts on neighborhoods and water supply?
Well, that's a good question. One of the largest jobs that the supervisor has is land use. And water is one of the largest topics, largest concerns of our county. So I am pro-development. I'm pro-Diablo Canyon. I'm pro-Oceano Dunes. All of those, the nuclear power plant has 15,000 jobs. The vineyards, the agriculture in our county is a huge employer, and we're also known for our vineyard. So, but you always have to strike a balance with water. We have to have water. So if we, again, I'm looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is with water, we do have to manage it locally, but it's also a state issue. When we look at the state, the fact that the state water project was never finished, we're now having to rely on our groundwater when so often, if we were properly prepared as a state and had proper storage, maybe we would be using and managing our surface water so we wouldn't have to go into our savings account, which is our groundwater. I'm sure we'll talk about water, but I'm always going to be reasonable in looking at pro-growth and how we manage that.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Okay, so in economic development, you're referring to developments as opposed to doing things for job creation, industry creation, and that's something that I have lots of experience in, and I've created hundreds of jobs and built up new industries, and I'm doing that right now, and we'll get to talk about that hopefully later in regards to clean energy and aerospace, et cetera. But in regards to development and impacts in neighborhoods, et cetera, you know, we have a thing called CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, and no developments are allowed without providing evidence that you're able to deliver water. So there's a number of things that happen before a development can actually go forward. And one is to get through the gauntlet of 17 different agencies to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements for whatever development is that you have. That has to do with safety, that has to do with community, that has to do with visual impacts, that has to do with biological impacts, cultural impacts. I mean, it goes on and on. And so we have a really good opportunity here to be able to thoroughly vet projects and look at them closely after all the experts in those areas have gone through them with a fine-tooth comb, and then we get to the report after our planning commission gets to look at it. So whether it survives planning commission or not, that's when it comes to the board. So, you know, understanding land use and what all of the players in it is a really important part of the job that we have as supervisor.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, water, that hits us really hard because without water, we're dead. And I hate to say it, keep harping on the state, calling more people in to drink more water and use more water. It's not our, that just shows that we just do not have control of what we should have control of. It's a territorial type of idea that we need to just get back with nature and take care of your territory. That's where we should be really hanging on to. Not that we don't need tourism. I think tourism would be really, really good for this county, especially right here in Pismo Beach. You know, it's the surfboard capital of the world there. It's a place, you know, known all over the world. But we should support that. And that is what will bring inflation down. That people get to work, and instead of being on the dole and having to get help, you know, from the government, they'll pay the government. And that's what we need to do. We need to get to work. And it's the manager's job to get the jobs. It's not the worker's
Supervisor
job.
Ortiz-Leg, the next question is also on economic development. Do you think Napomo should be incorporated as a city?
It's not in my district. Really, it's up to Napomo. I don't have an answer for this question. I just really haven't spent time in Napomo. Napomo is not in my district. I care about Napomo. I think it's got a great steakhouse. I don't know. I just don't have a response that's well thought out or has done research on it. So I just, you know, that's kind of a surprise for District 3 because Napomo's not in District 3. So that's, I don't know. Okay.
Ruiz.
I don't like incorporating, and I think we should get along as best we can without having incorporation. Seems like just more government to me, and I don't know. I like San Miguel, and now it's getting incorporated, and you know, it's just too much. I want to be able to be free from somebody telling me what I can do and what I can't do. And so I'm not, but like Don, I don't know. Maybe it's sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. It's just like socialism, not that bad, but then it's terrible if you want to be free. I mean, socialism is okay for children, taking care of children, that's okay, but when after you get 21, you're supposed to be free and take care of children.
Ms. Korsgaden.
You know, that's an interesting question, and if something came to the board, I just would like everyone to know how I would make a decision is whenever there's something that is brought to the board, I would first go to the local, the people, where did this come from? Why are we doing it? What's the purpose? What are the benefits to the people of Nipomo? There's a lot of questions to ask, but right off the bat, I don't have an opinion.
We have a number of questions on the environment for, in fact. Mr. Ruiz, you lead with the first question. How would you work to expand sustainable power infrastructure in the county? For example, solar and wind energy.
I would, I would try to rely more on the sun. That means, those thing on your roof to help you get the sun down to, and electric cars. So there's a benefit there. But it's difficult to just turn off the power of atomic energy all at once. I think we should do it very strategically, slowly, and try to get away from the extra energy. It's as if we're fighting the sun, and we don't want to do that. We want to enjoy what we have, and that maybe that even limits the population. Thanks.
Ms. Korsgaden.
So the question was about sustainable energy,
Yes.
is that correct?
How would you work to expand sustainable power infrastructure in the county?
Well, first of all, we're entering a time in our country where new energy, it's the new frontier. It's very exciting. I'm all for it. We have to look at this holistically, and I don't think it's ready for prime time. We have an incredible asset in Diablo Canyon, and the MIT study that was brought to us in November of 2021 said that it is actually responsible, I just got the numbers yesterday, 23% of our carbon-free electricity. If we were to utilize this asset for 10 more years, the benefit is, I think, that our solar, the innovations that we can make as a country and a county in 10 years are potentially incredible. I'm excited for it. But we also have to plan for the fact that our solar and wind, it's intermittent. And it's not always windy, it's not always sunny. And we have to be, as a country and as a county, we have to be prepared for energy use. And Diablo Canyon helps do that for us while we prepare and while we're in this very exciting time.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
So I'm going to take this in three places. First off, I'm already doing this, and that is that we are at the front row of offshore wind development here at the county. We have the Morro Bay call area, which will go up for auction in August or September of this year. What that means is that we're going to have 3 gigawatts of offshore wind, which is a global movement that's happening right now. And we have, again, the opportunity. For us at the county, though, we need to have some infrastructure to support that, and that means some port infrastructure. And so we are working right now on determining if there's a feasible space. What does that mean? How do we get to play? We just participated in a offshore wind conference in San Francisco, and we were invited by the country of Norway. Norway comes to us and they say, we want to be with you, San Luis Obispo. So we've got incredible opportunities, but it's going to take us all to say yes. And that goes with everything. Not only do we have our offshore wind wind, which, by the way, offshore wind is a base load power because it is a 24/7 constant wind power, which makes it more unique. I only got 30 seconds. Okay, so the second thing is that we're lucky because we are a transmission-rich county. Because of Diablo, because of other power plants, we have some of the most transmission of any of the counties around us. What that means is that all we have to do is say yes. Where we're going to have a hard time and where we have a hard time is for people to understand that we can mitigate the kinds of impacts. We need more storage. We need to be able to do other things like green hydrogen. And matter of fact, in my district, we're getting ready to start a new biochar and green hydrogen thing. So we've got a lot of exciting things happening. Thank you.
We're staying with the environment, but we're moving on to water. Ms. Korsgaden, what policies and programs do you support to ensure a sustainable water supply for the county?
Okay, so water, and especially in my district, the San Luis Obispo groundwater basin, it's been overpumped, and it's been a concern for our local farmers and our local citizens. Why? It's because of drought and limited alternatives and development. So locally, we have, first of all, our farmers are partnering with Cal Poly, and there's some studies going on where they're learning about different plantings that they can use and also irrigation methods. I'm in full support of Central Coast Blue. I think it's an awesome thing that was done with Grover Beach, Pismo Beach, and Arroyo Grande. It's a recharge and inject water into our ground basins. And what I'm also very excited about would be the thought of a large-scale desal, where maybe, like the San Diego Water Authority, I would encourage our county, as well as Santa Barbara and Ventura County, to do a feasibility study to see if we could work together. Financially, we'd need to look at the finances and the environmentally, if we could work together for desal. The big picture, again, I bring up the state water system. I would be at a local level, be knocking on the door of our state and saying, we've requested for our state water to be rebuilt.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
So on sustainable water, so first off on the San Luis groundwater basin, I am the supervisor in charge of that, and I'm very happy to report that we've been able to submit our plans, our SIGMA plans, our sustainable groundwater management plans. We have been able to figure out what projects we can do to offset the 1,100 acre feet that are missing, that are not in there. Interestingly enough, there's about the same amount of water that's going right into the ocean from the recycle plant in San Luis Obispo. So what this requires is it requires regional cooperation. Again, everything that we're talking about tonight requires people working together to finding solutions. And you got to be the kind of people that people want to work with you and trust you and understand that you listen to science and that you listen to the experts and that you're willing to work together to make things happen. And that's what I'm doing. And so right now, we're currently looking at 2 projects in the San Luis Basin. That's one thing. Recycled water is something that's available to all of us. We've had separate systems. That's the way things were set up. Now we're working on collaboration and bringing systems together. And so we're doing it in the Avila area. We're doing it in San Luis Basin area. We have much more of that. And the board is working towards. Finally, now we have we have our water department that's able to look at some of the things like desalination cooperation agreements, because now they're no longer messing around with the Paso Basin, which has been mismanaged by the board for a long time. And so finally, we're moving off of that, and we can start having our staff focus on the kinds of things that are available to us. Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, about water. Back to the government. The government wants to take down the dams, which is against the whole policy. We need the water in the dams, and we can get. The problem is that we need to get the fish over the dams, and we can do that. So that's what I think we should work on. Also, that there's a lot of the places where we can use for lakes. And we needed to develop those lakes, not only for the water, but for the migrating birds that come from Canada. And they would help us from Canada to the United States and Mexico.
The third of our 4 questions on the environment. What should be done to balance the environment and economic interests in the Oceano Dunes? Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
So, again, I would say that it's an interesting question. The economic interests in general in regards to tourism are one that are very complex in the sense that the more that you do things, the more that you have controls, the less opportunities you have. You know, I know that right now that there's environmental protections going on with state parks, and they've been doing things now that probably should have been done a long time ago. And, you know, that's something that was water under the bridge before I got here. It's not a vote I have. It's not something I have an influence on, but I can tell you that, you know, for me, the whole piece is about health and safety. And I think that's an important part of environment. And so that's one aspect of it. A second aspect of it is accessibility. Allowing people in wheelchairs and having the accessibility to get out to the beach, which, you know, hopefully light on the environment. And third, it's for the people of Oceano to make these decisions on how they see things. And you know, again, these are government agencies out of my purview. So I just wish the best for our community, and particularly for the community of Oceano.
Mr. Ruiz.
I'm with 100% with that.
Okay. Ms. Karsgaden.
To be clear, I am in full support of the full open and operation of the Oceano Dunes Recreational Vehicle Park. I love it. I think it's great for our county, and it's currently not in my district, but it's in my county. And it's said to generate $232 million for our county, direct and indirect. It's said to be responsible for 3,300 jobs in our county, direct and indirect. And that's the economy part of it. What we don't talk about enough is the family. Our local families and the families across the world that come and enjoy our very unique, special recreational park. I was very pleased to see the scripts when they did the study on the dust. And I was surprised that it wasn't on the front of all the papers, that it was incorrect what was said about the silica. And the wind has always blown, and it will always continue to blow, but we have a special asset. And I will continuously strive to keep that open for our county and the people in our county. And it's a special place that we need to, also, environmentally, we have the best bird program in the state because of the money that's generated from the entry fee. We have the best and most robust endangered species program.
Thank you.
On the West Coast.
The final question on the environment. Why keep Diablo open when there are so many risks? Example, earthquakes, terrorism, and where renewables are forging ahead? Mr. Ruiz.
My theory is that the water that's heating up, the millions of gallons of water that's being heated up, is inviting the sharks up, and that the hot water is going all the way to the icebergs and melting them from the inside. And that is only, let's say, a half a degree. But it only shows how delicate our system is. This world system is a delicate thing. We're really fortunate to be alive and have a place to live. The climate, for example, is not only the air that we breathe, it's the water that we drink, it's the food that we eat, it's everything. And to take care of it, do it locally.
Ms.
Eat well.
Korsgaard.
Eat well, rest well. I'm done.
I don't think she heard.
I'm sorry. Was it me?
Yes,
Can you repeat the question?
certainly. Why keep Diablo open when there are many risks, such as earthquakes and terrorism, and where renewables are forging ahead?
There are risks in everything. Diablo Canyon has been there for decades. It's one of the safest. As far as the safety record of Diablo, it's excellent. Like I said earlier, it generates 23% of our clean energy in the state of California. So my number one answer would be electricity. It serves us well, it serves our community well, it serves our state well. So when we look at the renewables, I'm very excited about the renewables and the future that has. But when we look at wind and we look at solar, I have some, am I in favor of them? Yes. Am I concerned? Yes. When we look at wind, the concerns that I have are call it land mass, but it's the amount of environment that has to be used for wind. Also, when we look at solar and the panels that have to be used, I just did a interesting study where some of the panels only last for 5 years, and there's some toxicity that's going into our groundwater. So all of these, there's no perfect solution, but until we find better solutions, we have a great plant in Diablo Canyon, and I would be all for the MIT study to talk to our governor, which my opponent did abstain from that vote, and I know there were some reasons for that, but I would be in full support of Diablo.
Supervisor Ortiz-Leg.
It's very important for all of the public to understand that every energy project has risks and has things to mitigate. Here, what we have is a choice, in a sense. If it was our choice, again, we don't have the authority to determine whether it lives or dies at this point. But, carbon is the reason why I've spoken out in regards to the MIT Stanford report as far as what is the content of it, what it's talking about. The base load impact of what Diablo Canyon produces is a base load energy, which is a 24/7 firm power. That's pretty critical for keep the grid running efficiently and cost effectively. This is the reason why. On the other hand, the Mothers and for Peace and all are very clear about the concerns that our generation mostly have about spent fuel and the safety of spent fuel and the storage of spent fuel. And so these are the kinds of decisions that are in front of us on almost every aspect of what kind of energy we're going to use. There is impact from everything. And so again, depending on the decisions makers, these are hard questions for each and every one of us. For me, carbon is the thing that drives my decisions on everything. We need to reduce carbon. We've got to be able to generate electricity without carbon. So that's what I'm interested in. Thank you.
Our next pair of topics are crime and traffic. The first question. Crime has become a major problem in our area. What do you think the county could do about it? Ms. Korsgaard.
So crime, I recently had the opportunity to visit with the Grover Beach Police Commander and also the San Luis Obispo Commander. And both of them said that the way to handle crime is to manage it early, so it doesn't grow. And they do attribute a great deal of this to Prop 47 and 57, which declassifies penalties. 47 is where you can go shopping for $949 and basically only get a ticket. And Prop 57 is early release of felons, people that are incarcerated. And Chief Peters said that the problem is that there's really not an adequate plan. They're released sometimes late at night. There's no home. There's no plan for these people. I've often been asked, what's the difference between myself and my opponent? On January 25th, there was a vote that said, would you repeal Prop 47 and 57 on the legislative platform? And my opponent chose not to repeal those. Also not to approve the platform, which was in protection of Prop 13. Just by telling the state at a local level that we do not approve of these two propositions, if we could get those two propositions repealed, we would better be able to support our local police and fire that have to be dealing with these criminals. Not only them, but we've recently had problems locally in Pismo Beach, which are of great concern.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Yeah, the violent crime and the crime rate is very concerning. And I just know that in some ways, we need to be investing more in this. Let me make it clear. When it came to the legislative agenda that my opponent is referencing, this was basically a talk with our lobbyists that go to Sacramento in regards to potential legislation. I don't sign my name to anything unless I read it first. I don't think that any of us think that completely Prop 47 and Prop 57 are perfect by any stretch, or that they don't need reform. I am fully supportive of reform of Prop 47 and Prop 57. This is critical. We can see that. You can't let people get off with the kinds of petty theft and the kinds of things that are happening all the time. Matter of fact, I just penned a letter in regards to early release of other criminals that just went up this week to Sacramento in regards to too much of that. And because one of it is just what was referenced, the fact is that we have people that are released that may be ready, but if we don't have the support out there in the community for them, they then turn around and you have the recidivism. So it does have to be better thought out. And I just think it's very interesting that my opponent talks about me being a law and order person when she, in fact, was at the January 6th insurrection where 6 law officers lost their lives. And it's just very fascinating to me that you would turn that around from a vote on something that we don't even have a vote on and create that kind of characterization.
Mr. Ruiz.
That problem hits me hard because, again, the state has taken over the morals of the country and taken it away from the church. The church is the one that has for morals. Where do you go? You go to the church to find out, and the church is the extended family. That's all it is. All the churches, and we have a constitution that says separate the church and the state. Okay, but then the state says all this about, well, we're gonna stop corruption by limiting the time of service, right? Well, that might be a good idea, but it's not your job. It's a church's job, and it should be done at home. I read it's not, if you're going to say separate the church and the state, all right, but stay out of the other, the state is taking the church's job. And that's what they're doing right here in, I want to say Grover City, where they want us, the locals, to do the job.
The next question is on traffic. Traffic congestion is a problem in South County. What programs are needed to ease these problems? Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Thank you. Well, interestingly enough, just a few weeks ago at the board, we killed a long-term project in regards to South County relief in coming into San Luis Obispo County. And it was about a roundabout. And the roundabout is significantly tied to the Pismo corridor as well. We need to have both corridors open. So what happened is this. We've been planning for 14 years on reducing the congestion in and out of San Luis Obispo County off of Highway 227 for South County residents. And basically, it was lambasted because of political, I don't even know how to say it. Basically, trying to win votes over from people, thinking that, oh, you're going to stop a roundabout. Guess what? The roundabout is coming. The question shouldn't have been, do you want a roundabout or not? The question should have been, do you want the county to continue with the investment that you've already made since 2014 on having a roundabout, or do you want another agency to do it? Because that's what's going to happen. So what you've got to have is you've got to have people that are willing to work together with the professionals within inside our building to understand what we've put as priorities, which is to create flowing traffic to make sure that we have a reduction. They're not going to get a 4-lane highway, they're going to get a roundabout. But now it's going to cost us more, and it's going to take us longer. And that comes from Ms. Korsgaden's camp that believes in that kind of approach. I think that, you know, the ability to solve problems comes from working together and doing it in the most efficient and cost-effective manner. And that's not what's happening
Mr.
with
Ruiz.
this board.
Yeah. I don't like roundabouts. Yeah, I don't like the extra stuff that some agencies are putting in our way. And it's, you know, it's because it's a state law. We got to have it here, okay? In other words, the state is what's ruining our country. That's back to what Ronald Reagan was trying to tell us. By the way, Ronald Reagan was a friend of mine. Not a, you know, we saw a lot of things really, really good. But he was, you know, he's a great character, a horseman. A real down-to-earth guy, and that's what we need. We need down-to-earth people here, down to earth.
Ms. Korsgaden.
Thank you. My opponent's answer to this question was a prime example of why I'm running. Do the decisions come from the government, or do they come from the people? If the people, the residents, and large number, my understanding was 90% of the people do not want roundabouts, I think our government should listen. And regarding the issue of my visit to Washington, last time I heard and last time I checked, we as Americans, we have the right to assemble, and we have the right for free speech. We also have the right to question authority, and that's exactly what I did in Washington, D.C., and I broke no laws. Anyone who knows me knows that I will question authority, especially if something doesn't appear to be fair or honest. And I will do it without looking at what ramifications it will do to me. And any government-appointed official that would question someone's right for free speech and the freedom to gather and to question our government, we should be very concerned.
Good.
Next question is on board relations. What ideas do you have to ease the divisiveness in our county? How can we all work together to build better communities? Mr. Ruiz, you lead off.
That's the question is how we're going to bring our county together. And I say celebrate. We should be having celebrations like we used to have. And our taxes should support that 100%. Well, not 100%. I think we should have a lot of potlucks in every community, every neighborhood. Damn it, we just need to learn to first communicate, the boys and the girls, And then we need to learn to love one another and have respect for one another. The idea that we don't even know our own language, it's that you can't have love if you haven't got respect. And 30 minutes is, or 30 seconds, what can you say? I love you.
Ms. Korsgaden.
So for 33 years, I've run my business in Grover Beach, and I would say that well, number one, I've never told anyone my political party or affiliation, and I am committed to saying not this side or not that side, which was just mentioned in some prior comments. When you elect a board, you're electing 5 people. I call it a basketball team, and they all have to work together. Homelessness, crime, housing, all of the issues that are really important for our county members, they're not political party affiliated concerns. They're problems that you are looking to bring a board together that will work well together. And I've got a long track record. When I make my decisions and I see, I'm not used to being in the public eye as relating to public decisions. I've made them in my business, but I've learned to work very well with large, diverse groups of people to get the job done. When it was a complicated issue, I had to work with all kinds of people to get the end result, which was positive. And I know that we can do that. I've got a history of that, and I'm committed to it.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Yes. So I think that I've demonstrated in my 15 months on the board that I'm the most independent voice that has been on the board for a very long time. And I have my fealty, my loyalty is to the county. And one thing that we've seen is that although this is a nonpartisan seat, we've seen a fealty to a party. And that has been unfortunate, because without that, no matter how many times you try to come with moderation, to try to come to a point of compromise, it's been no. It's been one way, and that's it. And that's the kind of approach that we don't need more of. We don't need a club. We need representation. We need public servants. We need people that understand that we are just the conduits. We're the conduits between the people and the staff that we have and the experts that are running our county in 23 different departments with over 2,500 people. So they're not just there, wasting time waiting for us to make some brilliant thing said in some broad statement. They're there for us to get into the details, to make sure that we're able to understand how we're best spending the people's money, how we're best executing the things that are going to make your lives better. That's what our job is, So it's all great to be, you think you can be kumbaya for 1 minute and all that. Actually rolling up your sleeves and sitting down with people that you don't agree with all the time takes a lot of work. But you can get things done. And I think I have proven tonight that I have done that. And I continue to want to do that. But, I don't take things personal. I respect my fellow board members. I like them.
Korsgaden.
Thank you.
The next question. What is the biggest difference between you and your opponents?
I can give a couple specific examples. When my opponent wrote an op-ed with Jordan Cunningham stating that she was in favor, she was in favor of keeping Diablo open, I was thrilled as a constituent. So I kept looking for action, what was being done to back this up. There was nothing. And I'm not saying that this is illegal. I'm saying that this is confusing for people that are a consumer of government. Because my opponent also accepted a contribution from PG&E, and then when it came to vote to communicate to the state that Diablo Canyon was something that we wanted to support locally, she abstained. All of that, I argue, is legal. I'm saying, though, as a person, that if I say I'm in favor of something, I will work so hard for the positive result of completion, reaching a goal. And that's what I would be hired to do as the supervisor. So I'm also pro law enforcement, which would mean we did have an opportunity to repeal some really bad laws. And that wasn't done in my district by my opponent, and I would fight for law and order.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg.
Well, I think one of the most outstanding differences between us is that she doesn't understand process. My opponent does not understand process. She doesn't understand how policy works. She doesn't understand that we had no opportunity to repeal a law at all. We didn't have that opportunity. We don't have that vote. And when it comes to the conversation in regards to Diablo Canyon and the article that came out, that was conversation. That is all within legal realm of being able to do what I do representing the District 3 and the Diablo Canyon Power Plant. When it comes to an actual vote on the dais, if it was in the 1-year period of my time when I did work for PG&E, I cannot take a vote. I did the right thing. That's the way the things work. And that's what my opponent doesn't understand. They want to make up laws. If they don't like the laws, they will try and tell you again and again, no matter how many times. We have the same people coming in just this week challenging our clerk recorder on the votes and on whether or not things are legally happening in our clerk recorder's office. These are the same people that support Stacy. They're the same people, no matter how many times we tell them that this is how the process works, they don't want to listen to it. So that's the biggest difference. The second difference is that, yes, we're both from the private sector. My background, though, is in actually working within the regulatory atmosphere in government, coming from the private sector, working with the regulations, and learning how to make things go forward. That's a very different set of skills than just being from having a small business. I just let you know that. 30 years of working with agencies from Department of State all the way down to the Public Works Department here locally. So those are some differences.
Mr. Ruiz.
That idea, I mean, I'm neutral here. Except that, damn it, I'm a small businessman myself. I was a barber for 60 years, and I love the industry. It's a great way to go. Barbers and beauticians, these are the people that save the neighborhood. But what the battle here is really no battle. It's that there's laws, and then there's, let me call them man's laws, and then there's divine laws. And we need to see that we have to obey. If we want to keep our job, we got to obey the laws that we ourselves make. And that's the point. We're not making our own laws. That's our fault. That's the people's fault. And if they would just get down and dirty and start making our own laws, I think we could save the whole world. Let me say this. And I feel that San Luis Obispo, or let's say the coast, the Central Coast, is like the city on the hill. And that's what we need to be.
It has come time for our closing statements. As originally stated and agreed upon, they are limited to 2 minutes. And we also must remind you that they are in reverse order of our opening statements. So in that regard, Supervisor Ortiz-Legg, you are first.
Well, this was a really enjoyable time and thank you so much for giving us so much time to cover so many things. There's still so much more, and that's really what this work is. You got to roll up your sleeves. It's relentless. There's so many things that we need to do to secure our county. And I just want to say that, I've heard for so long about my people, that the people want, and this and that. Of course, we must do what the people want. The constituents do direct us, and we are public servants. However, what I would say about the approach of my opponent, and which is similar to the board that we already have, is that we've had many lost opportunities, and those lost opportunities cost millions of dollars. I'm talking water security, I'm talking revenue generation, I'm talking infrastructure, and not only is that bad for business, for the county, but it also costs us in the fact of where we are with human resources. Our staff is demoralized. We have a number of things that going on in the county that we've really got to be addressing, but instead, what are we addressing? Charter County counties? And is the clerk recorder's office accurate? These things got to stop. We don't need more of that. We don't need more of that. I'm here to serve. I'm asking for your vote. I'm dedicated to this county, and my only loyalty is to this county and nobody else or no other party except my family, of course. Thank you.
Ms. Korsgaden.
I believe the best for San Luis Obispo is yet to come. San Luis Obispo County needs a small business owner involved in our local government. As supervisor, I will bring a practical approach to lowering the cost of living and work to grow jobs and opportunities for our county. I will ask hard questions and challenge the status quo. We must act now. People are choosing to leave our county and our state for a variety of reasons, and I've stated them earlier: housing costs, energy policies, job opportunities, homelessness, crime, regulations, government overreach, and really the fun has left the state. There is a complete disconnect between county government and the people it serves. My loyalty will be to the people of San Luis Obispo County. I decided to step up and run for this race because the decisions that are being made are adversely affecting the hardworking people in our communities. I advocate for personal freedom and personal responsibility. I support parental rights and their right to be heard. I support the repeal of Prop 47 and 57 and will defend Prop 13. The only way that we can communicate through the state to the state is really through the platform. And that's how we communicate, and that's how I will. I strongly advocate for public safety and public safety resources. Innovation does not come from government. It comes from the ground up, not the top down. When you vote for me on June 7th, I will be your voice for truth and accountability. The truth and nothing but the truth. I will be relentless and work on behalf of District 3 and the County of San Luis Obispo. Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz, you get the final word.
I have a plan. It doesn't have anything to do with getting elected. Well, yeah, I guess it does. Getting elected or not. But my plan is started. We have a committee to restore the county governments to the state of California. And we're trying to offer a incentive with a bank account in each county for people to take up a committee, form a committee to help the county supervisors do their job. And so whether I get elected or not, I'm elected. I'm self-appointed. So that's what my bank account with Cesslock is all about. I'm trying to get Wells Fargo and B of A turned me down. So that's basically where I'm at. I think, at not only my age but this guy is a captain of the sidewalk zoo for San Luis Obispo County. And I think tourism is the answer to our financial problems. And we should really work at bringing down the cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. A lot of thank yous tonight. First of all, to our partners, Latino Outreach, for making this happen. To my fellow volunteers at the League of Women Voters, to allowing this to run so smoothly. To our candidates, first of all, for your courage, and also your obvious preparation. But finally, most of you may know that the League of Women Voters prioritizes civil discourse. So thank you for being a model in civic engagement. We hope that you join us at 7:30 for our next forum for District 4. If not, have a good evening and safe travels.